Hey everybody, we are here at the True North Health Center with Dr. Klaper, MD, and I'm so privileged to be here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
It's great to meet you. So I wanted to ask some of the basic questions about our way of doing things, our way of eating. And so to start off with, could you tell me the way that we human beings should be eating?
Well, there's no question, if you believe in evolution at all, for the past 150 million years, our simian ancestors have been living up in trees, eating leaves and fruits, basically. And our digestive system has evolved to be one that can handle herbivores, basically. We are herbivorous creatures. And if anyone has any doubts about that, I really recommend they go to YouTube and they look at the presentation by Dr. Milton Mills, M-I-L-L-S, M.D., called Is Man an Herbivore or an Omnivore? Not even herbivore or carnivore, herbivore or omnivore. Right. It is clear we are herbivores, from our digestive system to our enzymes in our saliva to our fingers for peeling bananas. We're herbivores. And so a plant-based diet certainly seems to be the fare that we're designed to eat. And in the real world these days, it consists of lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lots of legumes, lots of colorful salads and hearty vegetable soups and all the wonderful cuisine that's available around the world based on plant-based foods.
Absolutely. So how about oil? Could we take it a step further and talk a little bit about salt, oil, sugar just briefly?
Right. Well, those are three large topics there, salt, oil, and sugar. And in fact, I'd call your viewers' attention to the fact that if they go to my website, drklaper.com, DOCTORKLAPER.com, all spelled out.
I'll put a link for sure.
On the video and webinar section on the website, I have a video entitled Salt, Sugar, and Oil. So I'm going to briefly touch on these topics, but if they want a more thorough exploration, to watch the video on my website. Basically, salt is essential for life. However, it's in all fruits and vegetables that we eat. The sodium atom is. And so we don't really need to add, with rare exceptions, any added salt. The problem is a little bit of salt is okay, but when we eat large amounts, as is inevitable if you're eating processed foods, if you're eating the Italian and the Chinese restaurants, you're using frozen dinners and all sorts of soups and sauces that are coming out of cans and packages, you're eating a tremendous amount of salt, a lot of sodium that's in the product already, and you have no control over it. If you just steam your vegetables and you can add a little pinch of salt at the table, that's okay. But it's the processed foods that contain the sodium that stiffens our arteries, increases the risk of autoimmune disease. Too much salt really is a toxic substance, we're finding out now. Similar with sugar, a little bit of maple syrup in your tea doesn't cause anybody any problem, but when you're eating sugar as a food, when you're eating a piece of cake or a candy bar, you're eating a chunk of sugar as food. That floods your system with sugar, and it starts sticking to proteins throughout the body, and it stiffens them and oxidizes them and causes aging in our tissues when we eat sugar as a food. So you don't want to be doing that. If you want something sweet, that's what mangoes and papayas are for, and I urge people to use fruit for their sweeteners. And then there's oils, and I grew up thinking that it's okay to put oil in your food, and the Mediterranean diet folks think that olive oil is the key to health. But the truth is, these oils are liquid fat in a bottle, and when you pour liquid fat on your food, nothing really good happens in your body. It can certainly make you gain weight, but very importantly, the oils injure the inner lining of the artery walls. Liquid oils, even olive oil, even coconut oil, are not heart healthy. They are not artery friendly. And people consume these oils on their food, find they're at higher risk for blood vessel disease. Their blood is thicker, it's more viscous because the oil coats the red blood cells and makes them stick together. All the way around, we should see that no other animal pours liquid fat on their food, and it's a totally unnatural thing to do. It may taste good, but when you stop using oil in your food, the vegetables taste so much better. And my wife and I were in a restaurant last month, and we had some sauteed vegetables, and they were sauteed in oil. Couldn't eat them. They were dripping with oil. And so once people stop using it, they see that it's not a really helpful thing to do, to pour liquid fat in your food.
Right. And when you get used to not eating it, and you go back to eating it for a meal, it hurts.
Oh,
it tastes terrible. It hurts.
Really?
What's happening when we're eating these things to the extent that we are in the standard American diet? What's happening to people's bodies with chronic disease?
I've been a physician for 45 years. I entered the practice of medicine in the early 1970s. And so I saw the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s go by. And it's been jaw-dropping. It's been stunning to see American human beings become grossly obese. And along with that, suffer an epidemic of clogged arteries, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes is rampant. And it's turned medicine on its head. When I was a young doctor, there was a term called adult onset diabetes. We don't use that anymore because now we're seeing insulin resistance in kids that are becoming obese. We are killing ourselves with our knives and forks and fast foods. And pick a disease. If you're practicing Western medicine today, whether you're a pediatrician, rheumatologist, dermatologist, gastroenterologist, surgeon, cardiologist, the majority of people sitting in the waiting rooms waiting to see you are there because they're sick from what they've been eating. The Western diet has become so toxic, it causes diseases in every organ system and keeps the specialists busy. But it's a tragedy and it's a waste to be pouring trillions of dollars into a system that doesn't deal with the cause of the problem and just patches people up enough so they can go out and eat more cheeseburgers and pizzas and wind up back on the operating table. It's not a healthcare system, it's a disease care system, and it's breaking down under the weight.
Right. So you can pretty confidently say that even children these days are developing these plaques at an early age like that.
Oh, it's stunning.
Even though they're not so much detectable yet, or...
Yeah, but when they do autopsies on children killed in car accidents and they examine their aortas already at age 8 and 9, they've got yellow streaks of atherosclerosis building up in the artery walls. Again, burger after pizza after Slurpee drink, these things injure us.
Okay.
They may taste good going down, but they cause great damage once they're inside us.
Mm-hmm. I get a lot of questions about supplements. Do we need B12? Do we need DHA, EPA, or omega-3s and 6s? Is this something that we aren't getting from the plant foods?
That's a very important and intricate question. When I grew up, we were all told to take our one-a-day multivitamin, and taking multivitamins is a good thing to do, we were told. But science says what happens to people who really take these vitamins, and we find out that they can build up to high levels, these high-potency vitamins, and when people take high doses of vitamin A, they get hip fractures. When people take high doses of beta-carotene, it increases the rate that lung cancers grow. High-dose folic acid gives women breast cancers, gives guys prostate cancers. We realize that when you concentrate these vitamins up, you create a drug that has pharmaceutical effects. And so we're all backing off the multivitamin high-potency supplements. So that said, are any supplements needed? Yes. If you are going to be a pure plant eater in the modern world, you must take some vitamin B12. Well, why do you need that? Because vitamin B12 is made by microbes that live in the soil. And when we were living earth-connected lives, we were back before modern sanitation, we would spend all day pulling up roots and tubers and just eating them without washing them, and we'd get vitamin B12 on the surface of the vegetables due to the soil particles that contain the B12-producing microbes. When we were thirsty, we'd find the nearest stream and plop down and drink our fill, and we would get vitamin B12 from the microbes in the stream water. But welcome to the 21st century. Nobody is drinking out of streams. Nobody's eating unwashed vegetables. And for that reason, the vitamin B12 has dropped out of the modern plant eater's life. And for that reason, everyone who is purely plant-based in their diet absolutely needs to consume some vitamin B12. 1,000 micrograms of B12, cyanocobalamin or methylcobalamin, once or twice a week, you don't need it every day, is absolutely essential. Beyond the B12, we're now finding, because we're not spending all days like our ancient ancestors foraging for food and walking along the beach and eating seaweeds and getting DHA and these essential fatty acids and doing all those food-focused activities anymore that would provide all the nutrients we need. We're finding out that there's a few nutrients that can be a little hard to get on a purely plant-based diet. As I mentioned, DHA is a long-chain omega-3 fatty acid that we need for our brains. And vegans over the years can run short of this. It's in flax seeds and walnuts, etc. But it's hard for the body to create this out of the small amounts of fats that we eat in those foods. So I give myself a little squirt of DHA every morning, and I think it's a good idea. And studies have shown that it's good for our brain to do that. The only other supplement, it would be vitamin D if you're spending all day inside, which we're all doing now. Nobody's out in the sun anymore, where vitamin D is made in our skins from sunlight striking our skins. You should get your vitamin D level checked, and if it's below 30 nanograms per milliliter, then you should take some additional vitamin D. 2,000 international units of vitamin D works for everybody. It's a safe dose, so people can just go ahead and just take the 2,000 of D. I do that as well. Those are the three major ones that I think is prudent for vegans to make sure they get enough of. B12 is essential. DHA is a very good idea, and the vitamin D certainly should be kept over 30. The only other ones, zinc and iodine for your thyroid, those can be obtained out of sea vegetables and other iodine-containing root vegetables. So it's the B12, the D, and the DHA that people should focus on.
So the DHA, we don't need to check a blood test first to see
if there's any question, you can do a finger-stick blood test. Your doctor can order it, or you can order it right off the internet. There's a number of labs that will do that. And if your DHA comes back low, then definitely you should do that. And if you don't want to be taking supplements and you think you might be getting enough from your diet, absolutely, I'd recommend people do that little finger-stick test and see if you actually need the DHA.
Okay, great. We see dairy obviously being pushed quite hard in schools, but I should call it baby cow growth fluid, right?
Baby calf growth fluid.
If we take that away from our children, I mean, how many inches on average are they going to be shorter, and when are they going to need wheelchairs in their lives?
Oh my. And this is a belief that you've got to have the milk of a cow to grow up big and strong. And we know that this certainly is not true. And everything in cow's milk is all that we consume it for, the calcium, the protein, are certainly available in the legumes, the beans and peas and chickpeas and lentils and other high protein foods that we consume will certainly obviate the need for any dairy protein. And the growth factors, people should understand. Today's dairy cows are not the same ones on my uncle's dairy farm in the 1950s. Back then, when a cow came into heat, she was fertilized, she was impregnated, and she stopped giving milk till she had her next calf. And my uncle just had to accept that fact of biology. But in today's modern dairying operations, where thousands of cows are being milked every day, they can't afford to have their best milkers offline for months at a time till they have their calf. So now they've genetically modified the cows, and today's dairy cows all are giving milk. Even though they're pregnant with their next calf, they are still being milked every day. And the milk of a pregnant cow is sky high with potent mammalian estrogens. These are not the puny little phytoestrogens in soy. These are estrone, estradiol, estriol, pregnanediol, progesterone. These are official mammalian estrogens. And the kids who consume these products full of estrogens, we tell them, eat your milk, cheese, ice cream, yogurt. This river of estrogen-containing dairy products are going down their throat. And as a result, the little girls are going through puberty at age 8 and 9 and 10. If you follow them into womanhood, they get a nasty instance of breast cancer because they've been stimulating their breast tissue with estrogens since childhood. The boys, the more dairy they eat, the higher the risk of prostate cancer when they become adults. It drives cancer growth. It gives women breast lumps. there's nothing healthy in dairy products, and there's a whole lot that isn't healthy. And for that reason, I tell people, relax. There's lots to pour in your cereal besides dairy milk. You can use oat milk, rice milk, hemp milk. There are all these wonderful plant-based milks. I really urge people to make that transition, and they'll avoid a whole lot of health problems associated with the dairy.
So the diet for children is very much the same as the diet for adults that you recommended
Absolutely.
from the start.
Now, there is an art to raising a child on a purely plant-based diet, and if people just do a search on raising vegan children, you'll see the lots of good articles and guidance there. A little child has a very small stomach, and you can't fill it up with lettuce and celery. There's just not going to be enough nutrients there. So you got to use the very dense foods and get into the toddlers, the bean spreads and the nut butters and the hummus and those types of foods that carry a lot of calories and protein in a very small volume. But kids love to eat that, and it's easy to raise a child without meat and dairy products, and I urge people to do so.
Okay. Is it very common to be protein deficient?
I've been a physician 45 years. I have never written the diagnosis protein deficiency on any medical chart on any patient I have seen. It just doesn't happen. And again, the biggest animals on the planet, elephants, buffaloes, giraffes, gorillas, grow to thousands of pounds of mammalian muscles without ever eating cheeseburgers. And again, I'll invite your viewers to fire up their web browsers and type in 3 words, vegan bodybuilders, and hit images. And see who fills up your screen, these magnificent men and women with these fabulous physiques, doing it on rice and beans and greens. And so, no one's going to be protein deficient on a plant-based diet.
I used to do some bodybuilding like 10 years ago, back before I understood diet at all. And I was taking protein powders and all of these things to bulk up. And then I saw that video you showed us of Frank Madrano, who is totally ripped and humongous. And, well, not humongous, but the kind of humongous I'd like to be.
Muscular guy.
So, do I need any kind of supplements in addition to just maybe eating more calories in order to bodybuild and get ripped like Frank?
Right. In theory, you certainly shouldn't. Now, there is a whole world of vegan bodybuilding out there, and there are some real experts, Derek Treesize and Robert Cheek, and I'm sure they have their own techniques, and I invite people to go to their websites and check them out. But by and large, the muscles are built in the gym out of sweat and time. If you have, again, a hummus sandwich and a couple of scoops of lentil stew during the day, you're going to have all the protein you need to build wonderful muscles if you go into the gym and work them out. So no, I don't think you're going to be protein deficient. And you really shouldn't need these protein powders.
Okay. Along the same lines of exercise, can you talk about exercise and its effect on weight loss? Should we be focusing on burning as many calories in the gym as we can in order to lose weight, or are we losing sight of the real issue here?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Exercise is absolutely essential to be healthy. And they say nutrition is king, exercise is queen. We got animals, you got to move. That said, however, there is so much energy stored in food, and our muscles are so efficient that, well, it was graphically demonstrated last year. A friend of mine, Ray Cronise, is a former NASA scientist, and he went to the Westin Hotel in Atlanta and put on his metabolic measuring device and measured how much carbon dioxide he's breathing out, see how much energy he's burning. And he ran up 73 floors in the Westin Hotel in 20 minutes and calculated how much energy he burned to run up to 73 floors, 20 minutes, in terms of Oreo cookies. And it turned out to be 3 1/4 cookies. Okay. And as Ray says, you can't out-exercise your mouth. And weight loss is a matter of the food going in. It's not the exercise you do. 1 pound of fat has 3,500 calories. That's enough to run 35 miles. You'd have to run 35 miles to be 1 pound lighter. You can't burn fat off. It just doesn't work like that. You get lean by filling your belly up with foods that are fairly low in calorie density, and whole fruits and vegetables are. They're mostly fiber and water. And that is really what takes the weight off of you. That said, exercise is absolutely essential, because as the healthy plant-based foods take weight off of you. They do so as your fat tissues melt down. The liver will take waste products out of your blood, put them in the bile, and put it into the fecal stream that you're creating from the food you're eating. And when you go out for that walk and you jiggle your colon up and down, it stimulates the bowel movement. You come back and you go to the toilet and you empty your colon, and boom, you get on the scale and you're a pound or two lighter. That's where you see the weight loss, and that exercise was needed to get your bowels moving and all that. But it didn't magically melt away the calories, though. It's exercise needed for normal organ function. But weight loss happens at the table by loading up your stomach with plant-based foods.
Fantastic. When I started this about a year and a half or more ago, I was looking for, because of various books that talk about cholesterol, and I was looking for a cholesterol marker. I wanted to get below 150, and I still desire that, but tell me more about cholesterol, HDL versus LDL. Do we need to be below 150 if we're doing everything right? How does that work?
First of all, people need to understand that cholesterol is not an evil molecule. It's the rootstock molecule from which our body makes aldosterone, cortisol, testosterone, estrogen. All our steroid hormones are made of cholesterol. Our brains are wrapped in cholesterol. We need cholesterol. It's not evil. That's why our liver makes it. The problem is when you're eating somebody else's cholesterol, that starts piling up in your blood, that you create problems. Now we get focused on these cholesterol numbers and your ratio of HDL and your particle size and all of that. I'm trying to get my patients and my medical colleagues to stop being afraid of these numbers, the tyranny of the numbers, I call it. These atherosclerotic plaques do not appear on the artery walls because your LDL is too high. These atherosclerotic plaques, these are inflammatory lesions because those arteries have been injured. Meal after meal of cooked animal protein, concentrated sugars, phosphoric acid in cola drinks, hydrogenated oils, all the chemicals in modern cuisine, they injure the artery walls. And the atherosclerotic plaque is a response to that injury. Cigarette smoke, alcohol, stress, all these things injure the artery walls, and that's what spawns these plaques. Well, you take a happy, healthy vegan person who's not running cooked animal protein through their bloodstream, who's got a healthy diet, so they're not drinking soft drinks and snack foods and processed hydrogenated oils and all that stuff. If they're not injuring their artery walls, and they're not smoking, and they're not having increased stress levels excessively, everybody's stressed a bit today. If you don't injure the artery walls, I don't think it matters what your cholesterol is. I've got vegans with cholesterol over 200. They're happy, healthy folks. When we do ultrasounds of scans of their arteries, they're nice and crystal clear. And we have to accept that if I have a long-term vegan with a cholesterol of 210, well, that's what their liver needs to keep in their bloodstream, so their adrenals can get on making cortisol, and their ovaries can get on making estrogen, or their testicles making testosterone. And I would put them on statins and pound that number down. You've got to assume the liver knows what it's doing. And so I'm not terribly afraid of these numbers, and I don't go pursuing that magic 150. That's for Joe six-pack Americans who are eating their burgers and all that stuff. They better get that cholesterol way down. But I think if you're a happy, whole plant food eating person, and you're not smoking cigarettes, and you're exercising, your stress level's moderate, you're not going to be building this plaque up in your arteries. The odds of you sitting, if your cholesterol is 220, you're not sitting here building a plaque. You got a lean, healthy body, a healthy vegan diet. You're not sitting here plaquing up your arteries. That fate is just not in store for you. You're not going to have a heart attack or a stroke with that kind of body and your kind of diet. So I don't particularly care what your cholesterol is. Yeah, I think we need to stop being technicians fixed on these numbers and start being biologists and look at this biological creature here, and you're not clogging up your arteries as you're sitting here, and your next meal is not going to do it either, unlike our Joe six-pack friends out there who do.
Right. How about briefly the idea that we need more HDL? Some people get caught up on trying to raise that HDL because it's too low?
The same. HDL is a type of protein, lipoprotein, that carries cholesterol out of plaques to the livers where it can be dismantled and excreted. They're like the garbage trucks that take the cholesterol out of the arteries. But if you don't have any garbage, you don't need the garbage trucks. And as people have normally healthy, clean arteries and low cholesterol levels in their bloodstream, HDL goes down, as it should. It's a good sign. It means you don't have a bunch of cholesterol in your plaque that needs to be ferried out of there. And again, there's more, what's my number? What's your HDL? What's the ratio? What's the particle size? Stop. Question, how healthy are your arteries? How are you treating your arteries? How are you treating your body? What is the quality of the blood you are running through those arteries? Is that blood full of oxidized cholesterol and cigarette smoke and alcohol and stress hormones and cooked animal proteins? If it is, you should be concerned about your HDL. But if your blood is filled with the phytonutrients out of kale and carrots and beans and chard, and as it flows through the bloodstream and through the arteries, it gives the chemical message to your artery lining, shh, everything's okay, stabilized, everything's calm down there, you're not going to be creating this disease of atherosclerosis. Again, that's coming from the medical establishment that every cardiologist opens up his door and sees his waiting room filled with Joe six-packs, and they're all eating their burgers and smoking their cigarettes and fighting with their boss and never exercising, 50 pounds overweight, and that's who they see all day. And as far as they're concerned, oh, you got to pound those numbers down with the statins. But that's not who you are. That's not who I am. You'll never sit in the office of a cardiologist with clogged arteries. Again, it's the whole picture. It's what the whole plant-based food stream does to your body, and it does good things to your body. It leaves you lean and healthy with open arteries. And so I don't care what your HDL is, and you shouldn't care either. It really, in you, doesn't really matter. You got a long, healthy life ahead of you, and heart attack or stroke is not in your future.
How about alcohol and caffeine? Are they good for anything in our bodies?
Alcohol and caffeine. Well, God bless coffee. Got me through many a night in the emergency room. But I don't drink it anymore. I think there's difference between caffeine and coffee, first of all. And coffee I find is hard on my stomach lining, it stains my teeth, it raises my blood pressure. And it's the coffee oils that make coffee that does a lot of this mischief. But caffeine, there's no question, it's a pleasant stimulant and seems to be fairly benign, taken in small amounts. And because it's found in green tea, if people like a little caffeine lift in the morning, a cup of green tea I think is fine, and I haven't seen any medical studies show that really raises your risk for any disease at all. And so a cup, maybe two of green tea during the day. If you want some caffeine, that would be the way to get it. Alcohol I have no use for whatsoever. It kills every tissue in the body. We dip our surgical instruments in the hospital into alcohol because it kills everything it touches. And you open up Harrison's textbook of medicine and you'll see alcohol toxicity page after page of every organ. Alcohol cardiomyopathy of the heart, alcohol encephalopathy of the brain, alcohol myopathy of the muscles, alcohol neuropathy of the nerves. It destroys every tissue it contacts. I don't care what it does to your cholesterol level. The best way to lower your cholesterol is stop eating it. People are using the alcohol. Oh, doctor says it's good for me. Well, it lowers my cholesterol. I'll have another glass of wine. If a little is good, more must be better. And, it's good for you. Did you hear? Red wine is good. If French don't get heart attacks because they drink wine. And this is what it's become. Meanwhile, we're seeing damage throughout the body. Alcohol. Every glass of alcohol a woman drinks raises the risk of breast cancer. It raises a guy's risk of prostate cancer. It ages your tissues. It injures your liver. It destroys brain cells. There's nothing beneficial in drinking alcohol as far as I can see. And there's non-alcoholic wines. If you're at the party and you're holding a glass, it's nobody's business what's in that glass. And if you want to make it seltzer water or grape juice, well, that's just fine as far as I'm concerned. But I have a real antipathy against alcohol. I think it brings out the worst in human beings, and it really damages every tissue in the body. So you won't find me at your local wine bar sampling the sauternes there.
Okay, I won't look for you there.
Okay.
How should we, healthy, vegan, plant-based, oil-free, how should we be dying? What does our end of life look like? And how do we stay out of these care prisons?
Wow.
At the end of the go?
That's quite a question, and ultimately the answer is, well, I don't really know. What is going to happen to us? We'll be in somewhere dying of nothing, like John Robbins says. But seriously, by the time you're 110 or so, 50, maybe our immune system probably can't manufacture vigorous immune cells to ward off infection. I don't know, we may slip out in the middle of the night with a pneumonia or something. Maybe, I don't know. I have no intention of dying in the near future here, and I don't know what is going to do me in or you. Stay tuned. Let's conduct this wonderful experiment.
But you would say that you anticipate it being a lot less painful than people are dying today, right?
Oh, there's no question. And beyond the dying, one of the worst things in medicine is to get a stroke and not die. Get a heart attack and not die, and lose 2/3 your heart muscle, and get out of breath walking out to the mailbox, to have a stroke and spend your last 30 years in a wheelchair drooling with some nurse wiping your backside because you can't reach back there. There's grotesque things, short of death, that await the folks who continue to eat the standard American diet. As far as the lean, healthy vegan folks, again, it's a fascinating question. I have no idea what's going to happen to us, but it's going to be, ideally you just go to sleep at 110 and just don't wake up in the morning. That's the easiest exit, and that's what
great.
I hope for everybody. Yeah, I look for that. Absolutely.
So if I eat a bowl of corn kernels, how soon should I see it?
Right. The food makes it from our mouth through our small intestine, where the nutrients are absorbed in about 6 or 8 hours. It's down at the beginning of the colon. Takes another 18 hours, however, to go all the way through our colon, because the body needs time to absorb the water back into the bloodstream. So 18 plus 6, roughly 24 hours. But it can be much quicker than that. You can see the corn passing through in as rapidly as 8 to 10 hours. But usually overnight is the average amount of time.
Okay. Can you talk about eating until one is completely full? I have a habit right now. Who knows? I just did a week-long fast, so maybe I'll change some things. But I have a bit of a habit of eating. I'll make Kathy Fisher's kitchery and eat 6 bowls of it, way beyond satiety.
Uh-huh.
Am I damaging myself? And if I don't do that, am I going to be even thinner?
Right. I don't think you are, and I don't think you're damaging yourself in the way that you're eating, with the food you're eating. With kitchery is basically vegetables, and it's fiber and water, and that's one reason why you're eating so much of it, because it's not that nutrient dense. But most of the fiber that you eat just passes right on through there, and so that's not even entering your body. The truth of it is, and the glory of this food, the whole food plant-based diet, not the processed foods. We're not talking about cakes and granola bars here. We're talking about salads and soups, etc. You can eat pretty much all you want, because it's just mostly fiber and water passes through you. So are you stretching your stomach? No, can't do that.
Okay.
And now if you're starting to get, if you're eating pasta and you're eating these concentrated flour products, etc., now that's certainly going to change blood sugar levels, etc. But as long as they're whole plant foods out of the garden, you can eat all you want. You're not going to hurt yourself with that. Now the Japanese have this lovely concept of hachu haribu, which is to eat till you're 80% full, 20% full of air, and pushed away from the table, and that's a lovely thing to do. But your body's telling you something. You're a high metabolism guy, and this food, as I said, doesn't pack a huge caloric punch, and so you're going to be eating a fair amount of food, and you are. You would, of course, be one who would benefit from the denser foods. You should be eating certainly beans, peas, chickpeas, lentils, but the hummus sandwiches and the lentil stews and the bean burritos without the dairy, those are your friends. You'll benefit from the dense foods, and the whole grains, the quinoa and rice and millet and barley are things that you need to keep fueling that body at a high level.
Fantastic. One thing that you talked about yesterday and in lots of your videos is getting caught up on the nutrient chasing or the eating salt as a complement or just a flavoring is the word you used instead of as a food. Can you speak to how we have this tendency to chase after a very specific list every day, for example? Like, are we needing to get Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen? I love Dr. Greger, but do we need to get every one of the Daily Dozen? Do we need to worry about, the vinegars and things like that? Because those aren't natural food, or, they're not whole foods per se.
Right. I don't think any of the flavorings basically pose any of the, if you put a few drops of Tabasco sauce or a little sprinkle of cayenne pepper, a little garlic powder, I don't think they have any physiologic effect on the body. If it increases your enjoyment of the whole plant foods, I really don't know of any that cause any serious problem. Because we're talking about a few drops, the amount is so small, it's not going to have any pharmacologic effect. And no, you don't need to get Dr. Greger's Dozen every day. That's very nice. But again, in hearkening back to our ancient million years ago selves, we were migratory foraging creatures. And there may have been particular berry bushes in one area of our migratory patterns, and then we'd wander away from there, and there would be different foods available. And the body's able to store nutrients in our livers and our fat tissues, and you don't have to eat every food every day by a long shot. But now we live in this world with such abundance. The produce department of any farm, of any supermarket really is the epitome of human civilization when you think about it. I mean, that's what our ancient ancestors are foraging for fresh fruits and vegetables and places to get vitamins and minerals and calories. And here they are all brought to us in these colorful displays. So become an expert at shopping and preparing fresh fruits and vegetables, and your taste will tell you where to. Some days you're really up for starches, and other days you're really up for fruits, and you follow that. Your body knows, and trust your body's wisdom. But no, you don't have to eat every food every day. Eating. I'm distressed when I see people they're weighing their food and they're calculating their how many milligrams of zinc they're getting, and they're turning this joyous taking in of nutrition into this anxiety-filled event, another time in our life where we have to be concerned that we might fail. Life seems to be filled with that these days, and eating should be a joyous, restorative, nurturing, totally sensual experience. And so tell people, relax, eat whole plant foods and wide variety, lots of colors, and take your B12, and you ought to do fine.
Okay. I always consider the blood running through our veins to be pretty much like magic potion. Is it safe to donate blood on a regular basis?
Absolutely.
Is it good for? Is there a physiological thing happening when we're doing that that's helping us or hindering us, or is it just normal?
Well, that's an interesting question. First of all, it's always good to donate blood because we are members of the community. And right now, there are people who are in emergency rooms who are bleeding out from a traffic accident. There are leukemia patients who need transfusions. They need our blood. Please donate blood on a regular basis. And no, you will suffer no ill effects from doing so, and as long as you do it at a reasonable interval that the blood bank will tell you. But you're asking, is there anything good happening? Well, yes, you and I, being males of the species, we can't get rid of iron. We take in iron in our food, but it's a tough time getting rid of it. It can build up to high levels, and iron is an oxidizing agent. As you watch the car bumper rust, you see how iron oxidizes. And we're finding, especially with our red meat eating friends who like that, my steak and get my iron that way. Well, they're suffering from iron overload, and it injures their arteries, and it can really increase their risk for strokes and heart attacks. And for that reason, especially for men and postmenopausal women, it's a good thing to donate blood to offload some of this iron to prevent it from causing oxidative damage in the body. So it's a good thing for us guys to be giving blood on a regular basis.
Great. Any final thoughts on how you feel the movement's going? What do you think is pushing us forward these days?
Oh my.
And we're working hard on social media.
We are. Thank heavens for social media, because that's what's going to turn this thing around. I've been working at the coalface here for over 30 years. John Robbins and I founded EarthSafe back in 1985. And we've been trying to get people to see the wisdom of evolving their diets to a plant-based fare. And it's been discouraging, and the meat industry and the dairy industry are very powerful, and they come in with these tsunamis of anti-soy propaganda and all sorts of anti-vegetarian messages. But the truth is the truth. They say you can't keep a hat pin in a cloth bag for very long. The point comes out. And the truth is that an animal-based diet makes us sick, and a plant-based diet makes us healthy. And as far as this planet goes, the large-scale production of animal flesh on an industrial basis is the driving force for every environmental destruction we see, from deforestation to water pollution, water depletion, soil erosion, global warming. It's coming from cutting down the forest and growing cattle and cattle feed. And it's so important, if we want a livable planet, for society, for our species to evolve to plant-based diets now. No matter what meat eating served us in the past, no matter what mighty hunter mythology is wrapped around it, no matter how much people may like the taste of steak in their mouth, we have used meat eating up. We've used it up. The same thing with fishing. We are clear-cutting the oceans. We are strip-mining the oceans. We've used fish up at this point. We need to let the oceans heal, let the forests heal, let the soils heal by changing to a plant-based diet. And that's the message. The good news is it's starting to get out. The social media, the Facebook and Twitters and the internet is so powerful at presenting these images. I urge everyone, go to the website of Dr. Richard Oppenlander called comfortablyunaware.com, comfortablyunaware.com. Read his book, Comfortably Unaware, which is right where the meat and dairy industry wants you. And you'll educate yourself on the importance of our species evolving to plant-based diets. So a whole food plant-based diet is the key to individual health. It's the key to a stable planetary future. And it's the key to ending the dreadful suffering we inflict on billions of animals every year, these innocent, beautiful creatures. What right do we have to inflict such suffering and death on an industrial scale on these wonderful, innocent creatures? It's time for that to stop. Humanity is being asked to bootstrap ourselves up to another way of relating to planet, to life, to other creatures, to each other, and a plant-based diet is the key to making all that happen. So get the word out. Use everything you can do to tell your friends and set a good example. Eat a healthy plant-based diet yourself and become a healthy vegan person, where people, when you walk in the room, they say, oh, they got something going on there. I'd like to look like that. And actions and examples speak far louder than words, but get those words out too.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm going to put links to absolutely everything Dr. Klaper spoke about in the notes. Dr. Klaper, it's such an honor that you've allowed me an opportunity to speak with you like this. I'll be in the audience whenever I can be, watching you do it again.
Well, thank you, and thank you for getting this word out. This is the highest medicine I'm practicing all day today. This is preventive medicine that we're practicing here, and you are a colleague of mine. And when I see patients one at a time retail here, it's nice for that person, but it's very limited. This is how we change the world, and so I view you as a colleague and really appreciate the opportunity to help get this word out.
Thank you. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.